So, if my husband were to cheat again, would I leave him? The answer is yes, of course I would. In my story, my husband, I found out 3 years ago, had a terrible porn addiction and had committed infidelity in our relationship, and I chose to stay. But before I say I chose to stay, I did separate and I did set very, very firm boundaries. And I have this boundary sheet in my bio where there's yellow, gray, and red boundaries. And so I really clearly communicated that yellow was a way for him to rebuild trust and intimacy. Gray was the areas that I found absolutely unacceptable. And red boundaries were if he crossed the line, I was out of the relationship. Now, a lot of us women, we tolerate the gray and the yellow areas of our relationships, and we only communicate the red boundaries. If we even do that, to be quite frank, because most of us don't view cheating in the same light. All of us have different descriptions and variables when it comes to the word cheating and what that means to us. So, like, for example, do you view cheating as your husband looking at porn online and lusting after thousands of women online and jacking off to that kind of thing? Or do you view cheating as him talking privately to a coworker one-on-one or talking to other women online? Some of us allow those things to happen. I, in the gray areas and yellow boundaries, tolerated areas that I felt like were areas that made me maybe uneasy, but because I trusted my partner, which I'm allowed to do that, I completely trusted him at the time. And I didn't think that those lines would be crossed. And now that we've done work in therapy and things like that, I do see that those areas are just really slippery slopes for men to cheat. The honest truth is that we all come into marriage broken. And when there's conflict in the relationships, when there is suffering sometimes in relationships where, like, maybe there's a loss of a family member or the loss of finances, a lot of different things there, or big changes like buying a home or having a new baby, and a man has not been taught how to emotionally navigate those situations, or a woman. I'm going to be honest, like, it could be a man or a woman. Men are not the only people that do this in relationships. Women also cheat. Women also talk to men online. Women also share emotional needs with coworkers and things like that privately without their partner knowing. So women do this as well. I'm not letting women off the hook with this. And a lot of the men, there's a lot of men that follow us who are going through this right now too. So would I tolerate that mistake in the red zone being made again? Absolutely not. But also, if there were relapses and constant consistencies in the gray areas, I also would not tolerate that either. That is also in my red boundary sheet. My boundaries are, I don't want him talking to women alone. I don't want him looking at porn. I don't want him lusting after other women. Those are things now that I find unacceptable in my relationship because I do see it is a slippery slope to infidelity. I want us to come together and to talk about those things. I want there to be honest and safe communication in our relationship. Did that happen overnight? No. Did we have that before? No. We were both avoidant. We both would repel and go into opposite ends of the house. If there was conflict, we would bury it under the rug. Very few times would we work it out. And even if we did, it was aggressive communication. So I learned so much in therapy on how to talk in a secure way, to communicate my wants and needs, to not run off and to sit in those uncomfortable emotions while being calm and gentle. And he also learned to do the same. When you find that in your relationship, I just can't tell you, like, most people don't have that. And it was just so amazing to see all the work he was willing to do. My husband really put in a lot of work. He agreed to all my boundaries, which were access to the phone at the time. I did not honestly look at it a lot. I just wanted there to be transparency in our relationship. Obviously things like calling the affair partners with me in the room and telling them the relationship was over and blocking them on his phones. These were all things that we worked with therapists on, by the way, having a full disclosure. Trying to think of some of the other things. Blocking corn on his phone with a corn blocker. Because it's everywhere. I hate to say it, but most of your men are looking at corn online and lusting after other women online. It's just everywhere now. It's so prevalent. 123 million people joined OF in 2021 when the pandemic hit, and they're getting hit with ads. I'm a social media manager. That's what I do for a living. All the men that I work for, they're getting hit with it in their DMs, their inboxes, their ads. It's everywhere, and they are targeting men with those ads. So it's naive to think that they're not looking at it. And most of these men are so addicted to it for the dopamine high that they're now wanting to practice it with other women who are willing to do those kind of acts outside the relationship. And if you think, well, I'm the only woman he wants to do it with, eventually he becomes bored with you and he wants to practice it with other women. That's what a lot of the people following us are dealing with. And they don't understand it. They don't understand where it's coming from. They're treating it as just cheating and infidelity, but it truly is an addiction, a very, very extremely painful addiction. And a lot of these men are seeking to get out of it, and they don't know how because nobody's talking about it. So anyway, if he were to cheat again, would I stay? Absolutely not. My boundary sheet is very clear on that, but I also see that he is never going to do that again because of the amount of work he's put into this. He has done all those boundaries plus more. He read 120 books in the first year that we were together and working on this. He knew that my heart was not in the relationship that first year. I was not in love with him that first year. I gave him a second chance because I believe everybody does deserve one. And to be honest, my faith led me down that path, but my heart was not in it. And I expected him to re-earn that trust. I didn't just give him my trust back again or my heart. I didn't think he would make it, but he was meeting with 2 therapists every week. He went to his SAA meetings. He had an accountability partner. He went to church where there was a men's group that kept him accountable and actually really came alongside him. I was shocked. Some really amazing older men who were in their 70s, 80s who came alongside him like fathers. It was just, that was huge. He went to a marriage retreat with me. And then on top of that, we did a week intensive in therapy. That was insane. We went and did a week-long intensive where we were getting up at 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. and having a lunch break, but we were for an entire week on just like digging out trauma. I would say that was probably a full disclosure week. It was insane and intense, but so much wisdom and so much good advice given to us during that week. And that's what got us out of the crisis situation. About a year ago, he came to me and he said, Eileen, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I want to help men get out of porn addiction. I want to help men before they even get to the point of cheating so they don't have to get to this point. And I said, well, that's crazy. I mean, and he wanted me to join him. He's like, I want you to join me. I want you to help women. I said, you're crazy. There's no way I'm doing that. But then slowly and surely just that ice started to soften from my heart, and it started to soften when I saw women come out of the woodwork who said, I see that you and your husband are making it. I see you in public. I see the way you guys talk to each other. I see your pictures. I see all these different things. This TikTok, by the way, did not exist during that time. None of the social media that we're doing now existed at that time. And when they started coming to me seeking hope, I realized that I had an opportunity to help a lot of people who did not see hope after infidelity, who did not see hope after a partner's porn addiction coming to light, and that there was nothing like that out there. Do you know that there's not one book out there on a woman who's made it after infidelity, or a couple has made it after infidelity and their marriage has been restored? There's very few books on that. There's very few curriculums. There's very few anything on that. People, when they're going through this, are just digging and digging, trying to find any kind of resource. And so they inevitably give up thinking, well, that's the end of it. There's no hope. There is hope. That is why we share this message that there is hope beyond betrayal. And I don't believe that cheaters always cheat. I don't believe that men always relapse. I don't believe that there's no hope after this. I also don't believe that if a woman does it, there's no hope. There is hope if you are willing to do the work. It is not easy work. It is intense work. Divorce is hard. Choosing to stay is hard, but you choose your hard.